Yo, ever catch yourself wondering if the person you're with is really the one? Like, are they your ride or die? Or just someone filling the space on the passenger seat? Here's the thing. Sometimes love can feel like a foggy night. Everything looks fine until you hit a roadblock you didn't see coming. But don't stress, we've all been there. The truth is, not every relationship is built to last. And that's okay. What's not okay? Ignoring the signs that things aren't adding up. Think of this like a GPS for your love life, pointing out the red flags before you waste time driving in circles.
Got it.
How do you know when they're not the one? It's not rocket science, but it does take a little self-awareness. Stick with me and I'll break it down. 5 big signs they're not it. By the end, you'll know whether to keep investing your time or hit the eject button and move on. Ready to take a closer look? Let's do this. Framework for compatibility. Alright bro, let's talk real for a second. Ever been so into someone that you overlooked the big stuff, like whether you actually admire them? I'm not just talking about, oh, they're cute. I mean really admiring their vibe, their goals, how they treat the waiter when the food's late. If you can honestly say, I'd love to learn from them, you're in good territory. But if all you've got is a killer selfie together, maybe it's time to think twice. Now let's add some spice: mutual attraction. Chemistry is dope, right? But what's the deal if it's just surface level? If deep convos feel like pulling teeth or they dodge any talk about us, that's a red flag the size of Texas. Real attraction has got to have layers. The kind where even in sweats and a bad mood, you're still hooked on the person, not just the packaging. And here's where the game gets serious. Commitment. It's not about just saying, we're together. It's about showing up, day in and day out. Are they sharing dreams with you? Or is the future always too soon to talk about? If they're all vibes but no plans, my friend, you're cruising in a car with no GPS. Speaking of cruising,
what now? Let's
slide into something just as crucial. What happens when the sparks fade and it's time to build something real? Mutual attraction versus commitment. You know that electric feeling when you first meet someone? Like sparks flying, butterflies, the whole rom-com moment? That's great. But let's keep it real, attraction alone won't pay the rent.
Ouch.
If they're dodging talks about where this thing is going or keeping things in the no-labels zone forever, you might be dealing with a situationship, not a relationship. And honestly, who's got time for that? Commitment, my guy, that's the real flex. It's not just about posting cute pics together.
Got it.
It's about showing up when things get messy, boring, or straight up tough. Are they there for the midnight stress rants or just the Friday night parties? Watch their actions, not just their words. If they're all about the good times but MIA when it counts, that's a one-way ticket to disappointmentville. Oh, and here's the kicker. How do they handle it when you talk about your expectations? If they're brushing you off or acting like you're asking for the moon, that's a vibe killer. You deserve someone who's as hyped about the future as you are. Now, let's get into the juicy stuff. What happens when it's not just chemistry or commitment, but whether you're even on the same wavelength at all? Significance of compatibility. Alright, let's dive into the big one. Compatibility. You can love someone to the moon and back, but if your day-to-day lives don't align, it's like trying to make peanut butter and pickles a thing. It's just not gonna work. Think about it. You're out here dreaming of road trips and adventures, while they're all about Netflix marathons and never leaving the couch. Cute in theory, but in practice, drama waiting to happen. And it's not just about hobbies. Let's talk values, the deep stuff. Money, kids, career goals. You might think love can conquer all, but let's be real. Constant fights about the basics are exhausting. If you're always compromising while they're stuck in their ways, that's not love. That's a full-time job. And no one signed up for that shift. Compatibility isn't agreeing 24/7. It's finding balance without breaking yourself. Here's the secret sauce. Emotional peace. When you're compatible, even the tough days feel manageable. But if every little thing turns into World War III, it's a sign you're rowing 2 different boats. And if you're constantly trying to explain your point of view like it's a TED Talk, it's time to rethink the whole setup. Speaking of alignment, what happens when the timing is right, but the priorities are way off? Biological clock and priorities. Let's talk time, my dude, not just the clock on the wall, but the one ticking in your relationship. Here's a reality check. If your goals don't line up, It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Okay.
You're ready to settle down or start a family, and they're all about living that "let's see where life takes us" vibe. That's not just a difference. That's a deal breaker waiting to happen. And it's not just about big dreams.
I am dead.
It's about timing. Maybe they want the same things, just not right now. If you find yourself always waiting for them to be ready, you're setting yourself up for a whole lot of frustration. Relationships should feel like walking together, not like you're dragging someone along while they check their phone. If future talks get them squirming, it's worth asking why. Here's the thing. Mismatched priorities can turn even the sweetest connection sour over time. No one's saying you have to be clones.
Got it.
But if your paths don't naturally cross, it's better to face that early on than to invest years hoping things magically align. Speaking of tough truths, what about those moments when disappointment comes knocking and the fantasy starts to crack? Dealing with disappointment. All right, let's get into it. Disappointment is the part no one likes to talk about, but it's also where the truth lives. One big red flag. When you're more into the idea of them than the actual person. You catch yourself thinking, they'd be perfect if they just changed this one thing. And boom, your dating potential, not reality. Spoiler,
Here we go.
that never ends well. Here's another trap. The whole right person, wrong time excuse. Sounds poetic, but let's be honest. It's just a way to sugarcoat the fact that they're not it. Moving on doesn't mean you failed. It means you're making space for someone who actually fits. The faster you can reframe the narrative, the quicker you'll bounce back. It's not about forgetting the pain. It's about learning from it. Now use this time wisely. Make a mental checklist of what you need in a partner versus what you'll never settle for again.
Got it.
Let every letdown be a step up in figuring out what works for you. After all, recognizing these signs isn't about giving up on love.
I see.
It's about setting yourself up for something real. And speaking of real, let's talk about the big picture. What will you do with everything you've just learned? Are you going to sit back and hope things magically fix themselves?
Really?
Or are you going to start making moves? Remember, ignoring the red flags doesn't make them disappear. It just delays the inevitable. And trust me, your time and peace are way too valuable for that. Relationships aren't about chasing perfection. They're about finding someone whose flaws you can live with and whose values align with yours. If even one of these signs hit a nerve, it's time for some real talk with yourself and with them. The truth might sting, but it's way better than being stuck in something that's not going anywhere. Now, if this hit home for you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. There's more where this came from, and you don't want to miss it. Because here's the deal. Life's too short to settle. You deserve the real thing, and it's out there waiting for you.